Good morning or good afternoon, really. Uh, I should be live. It's saying I'm live. I'm hoping I'm live. I am so out of practice with this stuff. Oh, there we go. It's a little bit better. Um, yeah, just trying to get myself back into the flow of things. It's amazing having had 3 weeks to try and work out how life is going to be with a very badly broken eyes now. If I'm a little bit scatty, if I don't really know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing before, but I was really good at covering it up. And I've lost that ability now. So it is talk coach, any niggly things that are getting to you, that you want to share and maybe crowdsource some ideas for, get a bit of free coaching, all of that wins basically. Share them, and I'm kind of out of the loop. And I think people, sorry, I'm trying to, wow, that's a lot. Sorry, just, doing a bit of shameless plugging, which I hope, I desperately hope that Reality Review don't mind me doing, on their Discord channel. A little bit cheeky, but I am trying to get back into the flow of things and let people know that I am back. I'm back, baby. It has been a bit of a nightmare couple of weeks, to say the least. Let's face it, no one truly expects to break their ankle. Least of all how I did. I was coming down the stairs. That was it. I would, and then broke my ankle in 2 places. I spent 2 weeks with no weight bearing, just my foot up. I then went into hospital for surgery, which didn't happen. It kept getting postponed because of emergency situation, getting surgery before me, but it started to get really ridiculous. And they ended up doing it on the Friday. I went in on the Tuesday for surgery. They finally did it on Friday. 2-hour surgery, which wasn't too bad, I guess. That's around the max that it normally takes for that kind of surgery. It would appear that it was the breaks were a little bit worse than they originally thought from the x-rays, because there's only so much you can tell from x-rays. The incision on the outside of my leg is slightly longer than you would expect. And the incision on the inside of my leg, from what I can feel, because it's still in a cast and there's dressings over the wounds, feels like an unusual shape, which probably meant that they needed to do a bit of fishing around in there and giving themselves a little bit more space. So I go back on Friday this week for everything to be checked. So x-rays, hopefully they'll do a wound check and everything else. And then put a new cast on. And normally with this kind of break, it's, you have surgery and it's 2 weeks of no weight bearing, and then you can start to slowly get to weight bearing with, a cast and a walking boot, a moon boot, they call them, through physio. Unfortunately for me, and again, this is what leads me to think that the breaks were slightly worse than they imagined. And I think that there might be a bit of a combination between that and having EDS, because everything takes so much longer to heal when you have EDS. Any surgery can be double the recovery time. Yeah, normally after two weeks after surgery, you can start to build that up through physio and that kind of thing. And then 4 weeks later, cast is off. You can keep slowly building up and everything else. But for me, they're saying it's going to be 4 more weeks of no weight bearing, and then the moon boot and physio. They have said it's probably going to be extensive physio. So instead of a 4-week kind of somewhat recovery time to being able to weight bear, mine's 8 weeks. And they have warned me that it could take a year before I get full use out of my ankle. I am going to beat that though. I am determined. I am going to beat that. So yeah, we'll see what they say on, whoop, almost spilled my coffee, precious nectar. We'll see what they say, basically. But I'm now at a point in recovery where it's far more comfortable to sit, and move around. Upstairs I am crawling, because there's not enough room. There's enough room in the other bedrooms. It's a little bit tight in here with the furniture, and the bathroom, there is no hope of me being in the bathroom. And with the EDS, I'm pulling hold and I lift myself on the crutches. So it's just crawl up the stairs is far easier than trying to lift myself up each stair. But I'm getting more handy with the crutches, so that's really good. Yeah, that's basically my news. I'm just, the worst bit about all of this has been the PTSD. With complex PTSD, it's not just one situation that causes a trauma, it's repeated trauma along the same lines, and hospitals are a trigger for me. So having the hospital bans on is a huge issue. Having my blood pressure taken is a big trigger, which obviously spikes my blood pressure, which means they have to keep taking it. There's all sorts of things that trigger it with hospitals. And the biggest one is being trapped, is, being on a ward, cooped up, not being able to step away from it's so oppressive and it's so hot and all the rest of it. And there was repeated trauma, sadly, while I was in hospital. So the worst bit is kind of dealing with that. I've been left with a lot of kind of nightmares and flashbacks, and again with complex PTSD, if you go through a similar trauma again, that all adds to trigger points and flashbacks. So I can no longer stand the smell of toast. The idea of eating toast makes me feel physically ill, and it's stupid, because I know toast isn't going to make me sick, but sometimes there isn't a logic to it, other than that was the only thing that was available to me to eat while in hospital, because I have some non-standard allergies and they don't have to cater to them. So yeah, I went 5 days without a proper meal. I did have a baked potato on one of those days, but you can't live off toast for very long before you start having other problems. So that's been the worst bit. The pain is nothing compared to that. So, it is what it is. It is just, something. The only way out is through. You know, that is the only way, but it's true. It is true. I'm just gonna make sure that, everything is working properly as it should. I'm a little bit paranoid. I went live on, Twitch yesterday, which was great. Dipsy Q and Mad Eris both came in, and kept me company, which was really nice. And it was lovely to be live again, just to be back, um, in the swing of things, or trying to be. There was a lot. There was more fail than there was, win, but that's not the point. It's about being back in the swing of things. Yeah, it was, it was nice to go over there, but there was a lot more fail. It was definitely interesting. So I'm a little bit paranoid. I want to make sure that everything is working. Let's just and my internet connection was really messed up yesterday, possibly because we've got some kind of inclement weather. Um, okay, so I've got one watching. Hello, whoever you are really appreciated. Thank you so much for being here, and one like on the stream. So it appears that it is working, which is good. That's excellent. Lurkers are more than welcome. If you just want to hang out, chill out a little bit with, a bit of nonsense going on in the background, maybe pick up some hints and tips from what I'm saying to other people, that is absolutely fine. But if you do want to say hello, you can. We welcome new and repeat viewers. You are all loved and appreciated. Thinking of repeat viewers, I am blown away by the fact that I've managed to pick up some new subscribers over the last couple of weeks, even with not being live. And I love you all for that. That's amazing to me. We are at 105 subscribers. 105. Our little community, and this is really what it's all about, is the community. We are building a community of like-minded, loving, positive people who genuinely want to talk about mental health and everything that comes with it. No smoke, no sunshine, just this is what it is, and this is how we can get through it together. And I adore that. I really do. And it is so nice that people want to subscribe based on what we've talked about in the past, and what we're trying to achieve. So thank you so much. Absolutely love you all for that. I think I have 23 or 24 Twitch followers. If you want to support a small channel like this, even if you don't watch Twitch, go over and follow the channel. It's Craftalytical, exactly the same as it is here. I do opposite days over there. I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, whereas here I do Tuesday at lunchtime UK time and Friday evening here. And it's a different crowd. It's a different community. There is some crossover. Hey, it's Carly's Cracks. Hello, Carly. How are you? I haven't seen you in ages, my darling. How are you? Happy Halloween to you too. It is All Hallows Eve today. It is where the veil is thinnest, and we are most likely to be visited by both loved ones and those we do not wish to be visited by, which is why we make Halloween lanterns out of pumpkins and the things that would have been available to us. Is to let other spooks know we already have spooks here, thanks. We're already haunted. You don't have to come and visit us. You're as okay as you can be. I am glad that you are at the top of that range, but I would love to get you past that. I really would. I miss your face, by the way. I'm sorry. I've just not been around, and that makes me a terrible friend. Honestly, the last 3 weeks have kind of both dragged and whizzed by. And I think it's, it's been a PTSD thing. Um, the worst bits of it feel like they drag, but it's whizzed by, and I'm losing memories of bits of it because my brain is basically shutting down and saying, no, those bits are too hard. I was saying before you joined, the recovery is coming along. My recovery is going to be about twice the length that it is on average with these kinds of breaks. Most it looks like the breaks were slightly more complicated when they got in there to pin things together, but also with the EDS, kind of healing time is affected. So I go back on Friday for new x-rays, a wound check, and a new cast, and then 4 weeks after that I go back again, and they decide whether they're going to recast or whether, recast and have a moon boot to start weight bearing, or whether at that point I can just go into a moon boot and physio. So we shall see. No need to apologize, Han. I'm sorry I haven't been around to check on your recovery. Well, honestly, my recovery is my problem. I really appreciate that, and I love you for it. But I know things have been just hectic and difficult for you over the last months, basically. And I am just sending huge amounts of love, and I'm hoping you're okay. I'm more worried about you, to be honest with you. Recovery is recovery. I'm adamant I'm going to beat the odds, and I'm going to be, that it's not going to be a year before I get full use and full movement out of my ankle. It is going to be quicker than that. I'm adamant. I'm going to bust my butt and fight through the discomfort. Because I want my life back, basically. Everything is just 10 times harder. Thank you very much. I always appreciate the love. Yeah, it is absolutely, it's rubbish, but it is what it is, isn't it? It still feels a little bit surreal that I had the accident in the first place, which is really weird because I'm living with the constant discomfort and everything else. But it is really surreal that I did the damage in the first place. I look at the x-rays and how much bruising and stuff was on my foot, and I'm like, it's just weird. I know that's my foot. I know it happened. Just feels like it's like watching someone else's life. And again, that's, it's a PTSD thing. My brain is trying to protect me from not just the physical trauma, but the emotional trauma, and PTSD kind of symptoms and stuff. Oh, I was about to ask you how your aunt was doing, because that was a really nasty fall that she went through. Yeah, that accident was back in June. Didn't she break something else? Didn't she have a wrist injury as well? Like, it was a nasty fall. I remember it being a really nasty fall. But yeah, recovery is hard, and of course, the older you get, the harder it is. So yeah, I mean, all you can do is kind of keep your brain active and try and remind yourself that you are a person, and it's okay to look after your spirit, your soul, your mind, and your mental health. The doctors had told her she'd be up and walking up on a walker in 3 months. It's been 4 and she's still struggling. Poor love. Oh, and excuse me, recovery is different from person to person, isn't it? It's not just the mental attitude that you put into it. You can be a real fighter and your body just not respond, or your body can do better than your mind. I know for a lot of people in recovery from serious accidents. It's the thought of the pain, the stiffness, the physical hurt that can stop them from doing the rehab. I know when my mum had her leg broken, she had hers was broken in 3 places. Luckily she didn't need surgery, but it was a nasty break and she was pretty frail to start off with. And she didn't want to do the rehab because she didn't want the pain, and she was like that towards the end of her life. She could reach her drink, she didn't want to because of the fear of being breathless, or whatever. Yeah, she broke her femur, both ankles, and her shoulder. Gee, wow. That's and all of that must add to it. If she broke her shoulder and her femur, and both ankles, you know, the effort that it takes to move a walker. I didn't get on with a walker at all. I'm far better on crutches, but I really struggle. So you're lifting your body at an unusual angle. And in my case, I'm hopping. In her case, she's having to very gingerly walk on both feet. But you're still putting a huge amount of pressure on your shoulders, your elbows, your hands, your wrists. Like my hand feels permanently bruised in the palm of my hand from using the crutches. So I can't imagine just how difficult that is for her. Yeah. Yeah, so she's using a walker because of her shoulder and her arm, because of course they're in recovery too. And I don't know your aunt's age, but she's, got to be older than me, let's say. On law of averages says she's older than me, and I'm finding it hard at 43. And I'm stubborn. Like, I am just filled with bloody mindedness, when it comes to this kind of thing. So I refuse to let my life be taken over. It's for me, it's the only way I've got through any of my health conditions, and I'm still up and kicking and fighting. I mean, one thing, she is my mum's eldest sister, so she's in her late 70s, yeah. And, healing, any kind of healing in your 70s is a lot harder. Um, you know, it's gonna be a very difficult journey for her, poor love. Please, when you speak to her, give her my love and my solidarity. I get it. It is hard, and I can't imagine what it's been like with 2 broken ankles. And it's really daft stuff, like working out how to balance yourself so that you can go for a pee, or, change your socks. That kind of thing is just, it's the silly stuff. And the amount of times I have tweaked my wounds just sitting down or reaching for something, you know, I had a day where I did nothing but yank my wounds around. And that was so painful because they burn. They burn. You know, that's and there's nothing you can do. And your instinct is to grab for your ankle, grab for the wounds to protect them. You can't because you're in a cast. She's lost so much weight because she has no appetite. I will pass on your well wishes. Thank you. Yeah, I get that. I get that. It's taken me until day before yesterday to really be bothered about food. Some of that I put down to my experience in hospital with the food. But yeah, the only thing I've really fancied is Chinese food, or Asian cuisine, full stop. But that's my comfort food. And also, it's things like garlic and ginger and chili and water chestnuts and all of those good veggies. That's what I'm really after. all of the natural things that are really good for blood circulation and joints and bones and, stomach health and stuff like that. So, I and it's really alarming when you see an older relative start losing weight. There's always a bit of panic there. Are they giving up? And I'm not insinuating that that is happening with your auntie at all, but, I think we all internalize that. When people start losing weight drastically, that's, there's something about that that really upsets us. So, yeah, so please pass on my love, and tell her I'm rooting for her. I'm with her 100%, and, she can do this. She's got this. But yeah, my heart goes out to you. It really does. And, Senior Fluffy Butt sends his love. I will give away a Senior Fluffy Butt this week. I'm planning to be back on my usual schedule. So Friday, going live at about 8 p.m. my time. So 2 p.m. for you, Carly, in Central America, not Central America, but Central time zone. Let's get that right. Yeah. And I will be giving away Senor Fluffy Butt. Finally, I was about to give him away and then I fell down the stairs. Or it slipped. I keep saying that I fell down the stairs, and that sounds like it was lots of stairs and it was a big fall. It really wasn't. I slipped down one step. My left foot slipped one step. That was it. It was just all of my weight went on the wrong bit of the other foot. I've been trying to keep my mind active and positive, and it's all you can do. I have been driven nuts by just inactivity. I'm not one of those people that sit still for very long, and just losing that ability is really difficult. Wow, that's mind blowing. What, slipping down one step? Just one. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very lucky that I didn't slip down more. Our stairs, we've got, I think it's 6 or 7 steps, and then a bit of a small landing, and then it comes back on itself, what we would call a dog leg. And each part of that is only, I think the top part is shorter than the bottom half. So the max I would fall down is kind of 10. But like, I fell down the better part of it, because I landed on carpet and kind of my upper body took the brunt of the fall. I was able to twist because I was holding my little one at the time, and I was able to twist as I fell. So I landed, like, I hit my head, my shoulder on the wall, and kind of slid down, and my feet stayed where they were when the original slip happened. So my feet were elevated. Your aunt fell through the floorboards onto a cement floor. So she fell from upstairs to downstairs, but through the floorboards. Holy cow. I am so grateful she didn't hit her head. Thank goodness. Wow. That's so scary. Was that in her home? What caused the floorboards to give out? That is frightening. That is so frightening. You just don't imagine something like that happening outside of, a tornado or an earthquake or something. She was having construction done on her house. So was it the work crew's fault? Or was there, a hole in the floor that she didn't notice? Or that is so scary. That is so, so scary. Replacing the floorboard, she was told not to ESL in that area of the house and must have forgotten. I don't know what ESL stands for, but, like, she wasn't meant to be going into that part of the house or using it for living. Um, totally her fault for not listening. Well, that's a mistake maybe she won't make again. Um, that is so scary. That is so scary. The things we do, you know? The things we do. That is so frightening. I just ouch. She was told to avoid that room. Yeah. Yeah. I can't even imagine just straight fall. I so frightening. That's just wild, isn't it? That is so scary. Yeah, I mean, I know she's done herself a lot of damage and it's awful, but that could have been so much worse. Just in terms of, quote unquote standard injuries, that could have been so much worse. I must have scared the hell out of your mum. Because I know you're all very close. But your mum being closer in age and stuff like that is a hell of a wake-up call. Really is. That's so sad. So concerning. I just cannot imagine just how scary that is. Your mum finally came home on Saturday. Yay! That's really awesome because I know that she's been looking after your aunt, hasn't she? So it must have been really nice to see her. I'm hoping you've had a chance to see each other and kind of look after each other. So scary. Really is so scary. Sorry, just checking what's going on. I'm so paranoid about my stream. I streamed on Twitch yesterday and I'd completely forgotten how to do everything, really. Hey, it's a Karen. It's a Karen. Hey, how are you doing, gorgeous? Oh, I bet it is so nice to have her home and, back somewhere where you can keep an eye on her as well. Oh, we were just talking about Carly's aunt's recovery. It is so nice. Lots of love in the chat. I love that. I really do. I love the hearts. Great job, ladies, being wonderful and supportive of each other. We're just talking about Carly's aunt's accident and just how wild it's been. And, she's on the road to recovery, but it's taking some time. You're just catching up on the dialogue. Yeah. There are times where I have honestly been, I've really felt sorry for myself. I've had huge moments of being a massive faff and really quite depressed. I don't like to be dependent on other people, and I have had to be. And yeah, I just, it's not something I've enjoyed. When you talk to people, they're like, "Oh, you can't wait there for, that long. Get your feet up, enjoy it, take advantage of it." And I'm like, "But I just want to do something. I am so bored. The Sanderson sisters are back together on Halloween, which is perfect. Yeah. So yeah, so I can't imagine how hard it's been on your aunt. I just hate being dependent. And I've had to be, and I'm very lucky that we have a support network. We don't really have family. On my side, really, it's my brother and sister-in-law. I have an aunt and uncle in Wales, but really, it's my brother and sister-in-law. And on my other half side, it's his dad and stepmom, and they're just so far away. And we've I've never had that kind of relationship with anyone. So it's been really hard to kind of ask for help um and accept help. I'm not good at that at all, and my other half has been amazing. The kids have been really accepting of some of the changes we've had to make, and the fact that I'm not sleeping. I will go 30 hours without sleeping because of the PTSD, and then I will crash out for kind of 16, 17 hours. And the kids have been really good at accepting that. They have tested boundaries big time with my other half. And I'm really lucky that I have a friend locally who has kind of volunteered her services to look after the kids for appointments and pickups from hospital and that kind of thing. And she's just been amazing. Um, couldn't do it without that. I don't know how we would have managed kind of school drop off and me going in for surgery and visiting and stuff like that. So let's catch up on chat. Because of everything my aunt has told me, I can relate a little bit on how you're feeling, Andy. Yeah. I don't think you truly can relate unless you've had a similar injury. Carly, yes, I'm like that, fiery, independent. I don't like to ask for help. And it can be really hard. It can be the strongest thing we can do, the bravest thing we can do is to say, I can't do this for myself. And I have had to, accept that, like, I can't remember what it was the other day. Oh, I wanted to charge my phone. So I was kind of crutching my way over to the phone charge. And my other half was like, what are you doing? Just ask me. Like, there's a bunch of clutter over that side of the room. I don't do something that stupid because you might fall and hurt yourself more. So yeah, it is really hard. But you know, oh, you're looking fabulous. Thank you. It's looking beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I still look really tired. You can't see it as much with my glasses on and in this lighting, but yeah. And I washed my hair. I did as much as I could with dry shampoo, guys, but I had to give in and try and wash my hair. And our bathroom upstairs is really narrow. There's a bath and then a really narrow walkway between the bath and the wall, the toilet at the end. And trying to get myself in a comfortable position to wash my hair over the bath was a nightmare. And in the end, I just had to settle for the least painful way of doing it. But I washed my hair. I finally feel human. You can't stay long. Just picked up my phone and saw you were streaming. Oh, well, it was really nice that you were able to drop in. I miss your face. I miss Carly's face. It's just it's the awkwardness of doing stuff like that. Like, you take it for granted that you just step in the shower. But when you're trying to keep your cast dry and you've not got a lot of room to play with, and we have a shower over the bath, we don't have a shower cubicle, so it's just it's awkward. If if we ever have the money to do it, we want to redo our bathroom and extend it to make it a much more usable space. It would make it almost square, which would give us a lot more space, and that would make life a lot easier. But it's so expensive to have your bathroom done. So expensive, and there are far more important things that we need to pay for first. Like, the bathroom does its job, so it can wait. Carly is saying, "Bye, Karen. Have a lovely day." I don't think she's quite gone yet, but maybe she's listening to us as she's getting dressed and stuff. I didn't realize how much I'd missed you guys until now. Love you guys. Oh, I think I am safe in saying Carly and I love you very, very much. Very, very much, and we miss you too. Seriously, have a great day today. Be blessed. Walk into today knowing that you are already blessed, and that we are sending love and positive vibes and everything we can muster in your direction, Karen. It is going to be a good day. Are you using a wheelchair or just crutches? Just crutches. Unless there is a medical, quote unquote, medical reason to use a wheelchair, we don't get issued one. We have to kind of request it and go through assessments for it, and they're not going to do that based on a temporary situation. I did look at renting one, hiring one, and it costs the same as buying one, which is just outside of the realm of anything sensible for us. I thought that said bye, but it says oi. Sorry. We miss you too, Karen. We miss you so much. Oi, goodbye. That is now a thing. It's now a thing. You have to go now, Karen. We love you. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Yeah, so a wheelchair wasn't a thing. You can get these really cool scooters. So it's not a mobility scooter, but you kneel on it with your bad leg, and you steer it like you would a little scooter, and it's got brakes and a basket on the front so you can carry things, and you kind of scoot around the house or around outside, and it that would be great. Oi bye is now a new way of saying goodbye. Yeah, that would be really great, but they're just over £100, between 100 and 150 pounds, and it's just so far out of our budget with everything else. And I was saying yesterday on Twitch, our grocery shopping has gone up. It's doubled in the last year. And it's just wild. So we're having to find money for things that and it's just taken every penny that we have to keep our heads above water, and I think we're only just doing that. It's frightening. It's really, really frightening just how expensive everything is. And one of the things that I have been yeah, yours has as well. Completely ridiculous. And it's greedy companies. Prices went up during the pandemic because there was supply chain shortages, and staffing and everything else was an issue. And then they saw that they could take advantage of that, and food prices didn't come down. And then with the war in Ukraine, food prices went up again, because Ukraine are the world's breadbasket. They produce nearly all of the world's grain and everything else, and it is harder for them to farm. It is harder to get it out of the country. So prices went up, and they've stayed up. because companies can take advantage of it. And when everything on your kind of shop goes up by a penny or two a week, or however often you shop, you don't notice so much, and you look at your groceries and go, how am I spending this much on groceries? What we buy hasn't changed. What's on our shopping list hasn't changed. Yeah. Um, yeah, you're right. Groceries, gas, takeaway, utilities. Yeah, it's all gone up. It's all gone up a ridiculous amount, and it's not coming down because companies are taking advantage. Um, than the usual $200 when the weather is hot. That is just unreal. It's scary, isn't it? And yeah, I can well imagine uh, our kind of home natural gas and electric bill going up and going up by at least 50%, if not more, over the winter, because again, companies are taking advantage of it. Insurance, my car insurance renewal quote has gone up by £200, over £200. It's like, why? Nothing has changed. We've not made any claims. How can you justify it going up by £200 for less in the insurance less in the general insurance? um you know and we've got to now spend some time shopping around to try and get a decent quote. It's insane. And one of the things that has been occupying me, so secretly for a very long time, I have been in my head a prepper. Now, I'm not thinking doomsday scenario kind of prepper. More going back to World War II and after, ways of doing things to save money, um, to be self-sufficient, so that if there are electricity shortages or whatever else, we are in a better position to keep feeding ourselves. And we can pay down any debt or save towards other things that are going to save us money. um Sorry, let's just double check the chat. Ours went up about that much. Their reasoning was the fact that there are so many people, um sorry, there are so many people moving here, so therefore more cars on the road. What a rubbish excuse. What a rubbish excuse. It's such a lame excuse. Um, it's I don't even have a a way of combating that because it is so badly thought out. Just tell them there are more cars on the road. There are more cars on the road every year regardless. That's just a standard thing. So try again, insurance company. Try again. Um, yeah, we said when we moved here, we wanted to start a bit of a vegetable garden. We've got the space for it. But also, um, our kids go to a it's a country school, so they do an awful lot of conservation and discussing where food comes from and the farming industry locally. We have a lot of small family run farms, so they talk about um the food chain and what it takes to grow or make food. They do cooking, even at kind of primary school age. So we wanted to boost that side of their education at home. And also, homegrown veggies are amazing. Carrots are sweeter and much more juicy. Tomatoes are bigger, and obviously the fresher the veg is, the better it is for you. Um, and we've been really excited about that idea, not about all of the work that's going to go into it, and it's going to be expensive to set it up, raised beds and all the rest of it. But it's going to be well worth it, and the returns, just sorry, I have a bunch of emails coming in for some reason on my laptop, and it's annoying me. Excuse me. But the abundance of fresh vegetables and fruits, growing strawberries and raspberries and blueberries and stuff is going to be amazing. And knowing that you've always got at least a meal, if not more, out in the garden waiting for you. There's that reassurance of, even when money is really tight, and we've had this a couple of times over the last couple of months, of kind of, okay, we really need to do some shopping. How are we going to afford this? And I know I'm not alone. I know I am not alone in that. And just things like growing potatoes in a big plant pot can reduce your bill. Instead of buying potatoes or oven chips or whatever else, they're out in the garden. You just got to go and get them, and prepare them. Yeah, I mean, having the space is an issue. It really, really, really can be. We're very fortunate that we do have the space, um, and that we're willing to dedicate that space out of our garden, because that's the other thing. We have kids, they're going to want to play out in the garden. Not everyone is that fortunate, but you can grow most of the things that I've talked about in plant pots. Kind of on your porch or just outside of your back door. Plant pot potatoes, plant pot beans and peas, plant pots with strawberries and raspberries and things in them. Carrots grow really well in plant pots. You look after them exactly the same. So I'm doing a lot of research into homesteading, and I'm really enjoying that research. Didn't think I would, but I really am. I am not a talented gardener, but I am willing to learn, um, because just taking vegetables out of our weekly shop makes a big difference. Because fruit and veg is really expensive. It is genuinely, and I'm sure it's the same over in the States, it is genuinely more expensive to eat healthy, to get a good balanced meal with the right proteins, starches, vitamins, and everything else. Um, it's it's really expensive. I would say 15% of our grocery bill is just fruit and veg, if not a little bit more. If we can cut our grocery bill down to the things that we can't grow or make for ourselves, so just down to snacks and drinks, coffee, things like that, will make a huge difference. Yeah, and that's the other thing, is they don't always last long. And there is nothing more depressing than going to the fridge to start making a meal and kind of going, oh, like, the peppers and other things are over. What am I going to do? How do I salvage this into a meal? And the nice thing about growing veggies at home is that if you do have something that needs to be harvested, hold on. So broccoli, cauliflower, courgettes. I can't work out what that last one is. No, second to last one, and corn. Yeah, they all go over really quickly. Yeah, I bought some broccoli, and it went bad like 2 days after the shop. That's 2 meals worth of broccoli that is now gone over. Um, And when you grow your own veggies, you can blanch them and get them in the freezer. And then they're literally kept fresh to be, cooked again, or cooked for the first time properly. Um, and I kind of resent having to do that with store bought. I really do. Um, yeah. And things like broccoli and courgettes have really gone up in price. They have really gone up in price. Um, my granddad on my dad's side used to grow his own courgettes, and peppers, bell peppers, um, in a greenhouse. So I know it's doable. I know it's doable here if you have like a polytunnel or a greenhouse. Um, I'm not quite at that stage. That seems a bit adventurous. But things like, your root vegetables and beans and peas and things, like I'm pretty sure I could do those. Um, so yeah. And the other thing is meat. Meat is so expensive. And I've been talking about this for a long time with friends, and I really resent paying that much money for meat only to find that it's pumped full of saline solution so that it looks nicer for longer on the shelf. It looks nice and plump and juicy. Only to find that when you cook it, you've got, you know, a quarter of a saucepan full of just water, salt water, that you've got to drain, and there's half as much chicken, um, or beef there as you thought was going to be there. So, um, yeah, I can well believe that it's gone up by 3 times the amount, um, and you now have a forced choice on budget on buying. You've got to buy the cheaper stuff, which we all know is more fat than it is meat, or or a higher fat content. But it's also not as nice. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the cheap stuff. Hey, it is Yvonne. You never have to apologize for being late, Yvonne. It's always me being early, never you being late. How are you, my darling? We're talking about homesteading. um, what's really sparked this, I've always been, just to catch you up on how we got here. I've always been a bit of a secret in my head prepper. Not, I don't believe in the doomsday scenario of, everything's going to crash. Hey, it's Amanda. Thank you very much for being here, Amanda. Good morning. You're up early. Well, no, you're not up. You're always up at this time, but you're with it enough to deal with my wittering this early. Well done, you. Yeah, I think during the pandemic, it really solidified it. I've always been a bit of a secret prepper before that. If I'd had the budget and the space, I would have been stockpiling, cans, tins of things. Yes, your mum always arrives precisely when she means to, and we are here for it, Steve. Good morning, Steve, as well. Or good afternoon, sorry. I would have been stockpiling things like, tinned potatoes and, tinned veg and whatever else, because I've always lived in and out of poverty, right? I've always lived in, I wouldn't say I was food insecure, but I had times of that when, I didn't have any food and I didn't know where I was going to find money to get food. So I've always wanted that kind of buffer. And if I'd had the room at the other house, I would have been prepping, and buying the odd extra tin. But it's also things like dog food. Like when money is really tight, how are you going to feed the dog? How are you going to cobble something together? So kind of the extra tin or two put away each week makes a difference. And it means that you always have a meal, albeit a very basic kind of camping meal. It is a meal everyone's going to get fed. And that was more so when we started having a family, when we started our family, and never wanting them to feel that pressure that I had felt most of my adult life. And always wanting to know as a parent that I am providing for my kids, that I can always feed them. And that's really important, but also teaching kids, teaching the kids how to be a bit resourceful when money is tight. When they go off to university or when they first start out in the world, things are going to be really difficult. So when you have money, you stockpile a little bit. And then when you don't have money, you still have a meal. Going to bed on a full stomach is really important. Getting up and being able to have breakfast, really important. So, that's always been in the back of my mind, and it's always something I've wanted to do. But with just the price of everything going up. Amanda says, as a person who traded homemade yogurt for someone's goat milk yesterday, I can say I'm clearly for some homesteading. Yes. And you grow your own fruit and veg in your garden. You make your own yogurt. You are a superstar of homesteading, whether you believe it or not. And actually, that's the other thing that homesteading opens up. Is the bartering with neighbors and friends. I've got too many carrots. Oh well, I've got too many. I've got too much yogurt, or whatever it might be. You're helping each other out and it's not costing anyone anything. And I love that. And I have friends locally who do that, who trade goods and services. And it's wonderful. It really is. And, one of the things that, oh God, sorry, I, which way does my hair go? Oh, it's been so long. You can tell that I've not been able to give much of a monkeys over the last 3 weeks. And I love the idea of getting into that barter economy locally, because there is so much on offer when you open that door. It also promotes community and positivity in the community. And it also opens the door to someone coming to you and kind of going, look, I know we normally trade for whatever it is. I'm really struggling this week, or I'm going to be away and I'm not going to have my good or service available. So there are communities. Beau of the Fifth Column has it's Beau of the Fifth Column and his other channel, The Roads with Beau, and he points out communities that have homesteads and community gardens and trading opportunities. Some of his videos on that kind of stuff is really interesting. How to homestead on a budget, how to set up even when you don't have a lot of space. He did a video a while ago that was showing how small a space you can grow your own veg on, which is where I got the pot plants and other ideas from that I shared earlier. And we're really lucky. We're very rural. Almost everyone we know has some kind of heritage craft related business or farming business around here. We know people who are generational farmers, and we know people, willow weavers. My other half is a blacksmith. And, there's a florist where he works, and there's a couple of other businesses that are traditional crafting and heritage stuff. Hey, it's an Ida Think So. Good morning, honey. How are you? You can only pop in for a minute. Well, that is just not good enough, is it? You've let us all down. Other than that, you're on a week's holiday and you're allowed to go and do stuff with your days off. Thank you so much for popping in. I love the fact that you're here. So the kind of barter industry is wild. So I've been looking into keeping quail. Now, Amanda may just want to mute me for this. Keep me playing because it's nice to have the views, but you want to mute me because I've been talking to Amanda about this. And yes, you are bad, but you are ours and we love you. We do. And it's okay. you know, I probably have been boring Amanda and other people and anyone who watched my Twitch stream yesterday a little bit obsessed, and I'm trying to work out whether I'm obsessed because I am. I feel so useless, and I've been, you know, forced into depending on other people, and I don't like that. And it's ramped up my need for independency and self-sufficiency, or whether this is actually a really good idea. But I honestly, I've been thinking about it for months. It started during the summer. I was thinking about it. Keeping quail for meat and eggs. Now, and if you're a bit squeamish about butchering your own meat, I completely understand. It's something that I grew up doing. When we lived in England, we spent a lot of time with my grandparents on my mother's side, and they continued even after the war to live a wartime life. They both had jobs, but they kept chickens. At one point, they had a pig, and they always had a vegetable garden. And a herb garden, and an awful lot of what they made was still wartime recipes from what was in their garden. But they kept chickens for a long time, for the eggs and the meat. It was mostly for the eggs, but you know, Grandad he'd go through a period of time where he'd hatch a lot of chicks, and then they'd do a big cull, and their freezer would be full. And he always had, you know, pheasants and deer and all sorts of other stuff in the freezer too. So I'm not too squeamish. And I know that after the first kind of few, it'll just become second nature, because these are poultry birds. You know, these aren't pets. They will be loved like pets, because I believe in looking after your animals, whether they're for essentially for production or not. But you can keep quail in a surprisingly small area. They don't need a huge amount of space because they're quite small birds, and they lay a lot of eggs. A hen quail will lay between 250 and 300 eggs a year, which is wild. And they can, you know, their eggs are fertile all of the time. So raising more is really easy. Hatching more is really easy. It takes a bit to set up, but £400 to £500 as an outlay to do this, you know, working on the numbers that we would need and everything else. You know, looking at the numbers we would need kind of 7 or 8 hens and a rooster for eggs. And then everything else would be a cycle of hatching to 8 weeks old to then use for meat. But that initial outlay would save us, you know, £400+ a year, and that's not including, like, that's feeding them, that's raising them, that's everything. But that's not including trading quail eggs and meat to friends locally for other things, or selling the quail eggs. And the nice thing about quails are, you know, they might be smaller, but they're more filling than chicken, believe it or not, especially store-bought chicken, because most of that is saline. They're tastier. And again, they're tastier anyway, but they're more tasty because they're organic, free range, fed on the right stuff and looked after. But they're more filling, and they have 3 times, and it's the same with the eggs, 3 times the good stuff that we need out of those kind of products than chickens. A quail egg is really wee. They're really tiny, but it has 3 times the amount of good proteins, calcium even, and good cholesterol than a chicken egg, which is amazing. And they make great Scotch eggs. Just saying. So, like, the more, and I started looking into the actual maths of it. What is this going to cost? Because I wanted to put myself off. Normally, I can talk myself out of these ideas. It's like spinning. I really, really, really want to start spinning my own yarn. It's way too expensive to set up for the output gain. It's a nice idea, but I would need to build up to the equipment that I want to use and everything else. I am not stripping off. I'm just really hot now. So I could talk myself out of spinning. It's something I still want to do, but it's, you know, it's a later on thing. But with quails, I've just kind of talked myself into it more and more because of just how viable it is. If you just wanted to keep a few for eggs, you can do that in a rabbit hutch. You can keep six quails with no rooster, just 6 hens in a rabbit hutch, and you got an average of an egg a day from each quail. It's kind of 4 to 5 eggs a day from six hens. So, you know, it is surprisingly easy to do if you're set up for the work, basically, and you don't mind, you know, being the bad guy and doing the butchering. Right, let's catch up with chats. Ida thinks so. Say, I'd love to have some chickens. Yeah. Carly says, coincidentally, yesterday we just voted on whether or not to allow people to keep chickens in their backyard. Awesome. That is excellent. We have it's really weird. Quail aren't classed as anything. So all of our regulations are about chickens, goose, ducks, and something else. I can't remember. Pheasant, I think, is the last one. That's kind of UK laws and regulations. So yeah, I mean, there's a house just up the road that keeps chickens. I'd go with quail because they're quieter, and the problem with chickens is their poop is toxic. You should have the right breathing equipment to clean them out, and their poop can't be used directly as fertilizer. It has to be mulched down, and there are other regulations with how you get rid of their waste and stuff like that. Whereas quail poop, great fertilizer. So that helps with my veggie patch. But yeah, I think it should be an option. I think anyone should be allowed, you know, as long as people are looking after it, and it's again a situation where you can report someone who is being cruel to animals. My dad grew his own veg in our big garden at the time. So tasty and saved loads of money. Yeah. And this is what we're talking about, is this idea of being, you know, self-sufficient for our mental health. We are all panicking about money right now. How do we help ourselves out of that? And the only way to do that is to step outside of the thinking that the powers that be have got us into, which is, you know, you grow up, you get a job, you spend your money on the essentials, you die. It shouldn't be how it is. And actually homesteading, this idea, just growing a few potatoes in a plant pot, if you only have a balcony, if you're living in a flat and you've got a balcony, you can grow your own potatoes on your balcony, and it just saves you a little bit of money, and you feel less dependent on these big companies that are currently taking the mick out of us in raising their prices because of COVID, because of the war in Ukraine, because global instability or whatever, and never bringing them back down. You know, food cost has gone up and up and up, and we keep getting these excuses as to why it's gone up, never comes down. So self-sufficiency, even on a small scale with just a few root veggies, can make a really big difference to your mental health. Also, gardening is creativity, and you know how I feel about being creative. You are growing something. You are doing that. There's a level of confidence and pride and hope and positivity that comes from that. And this is what I'm learning through doing all of this research into what is possible with our back garden. And, you know, we are very lucky that we have a back garden and we have this space, but Uh, Sorry, back to the chat. Here at the grocery stores, quail cost more than chicken. Yeah, and they shouldn't. Like, quail have been known as a delicacy for a really long time, and it's smaller, so it must cost more, right? Um, and it's the same with quail eggs. Quail eggs cost a ridiculous amount of money. Here, if you want to buy quail eggs, you can only get them from the higher brand, the more exclusive brand supermarkets like Waitrose and Marks and Spencers and Harrods and places like that. And these places are charging kind of £4 to £5 per 12 quail eggs. Now, yes, there is an egg shortage for whatever reason. I've still not quite worked that one out. There is an egg shortage. So yeah, prices are going to go up during that. Capitalism, yay. But if you're keeping 15 quail, you're getting that many eggs a day minimum. And raising a quail to full maturity, so 8 weeks, costs about $1.50 in the States. Raising a chicken to full maturity and then fattening it up for the stores costs more than that, even on a big scale. Um, uh, so yeah. I I do think so. It's encouraging me to strip. It's not that kind of stream. Sorry, darling. Although, honestly, I am so skint, I would start an OnlyFans just for you. No one else. I'm not going to give out the details to anyone else, but if you want to pay me to strip on that just for you, fine. So skint. Right. Carly says fresh veggies beat store-bought any day. Yeah, they do. They do. And actually veggies aren't that hard to grow. For me, it's a confidence thing. I am not very good at gardening. I'm just not. And it's not something I've ever been passionate about. But since starting the avocados and having 2 really successful avocado trees now, that they've gone nuts in the kitchen. They have absolutely gone wild with how big they've got. And I'm like, well, if I can grow an avocado from seed, could probably grow some carrots. Amanda says, I got the goat cheese. I made goat cheese with the milk. Oh, I love goat cheese. You got yesterday, and it tastes, doing a taste test this morning. Please keep me updated. I love goat's cheese. It is absolutely my favorite. I know it's an acquired taste, but your cats would want to eat them. Possibly. But if they're in a rabbit hutch, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Mine too. You actually, for the most part, other domestic pets like dogs and cats, they'll be interested in them, but they'll leave them alone unless you've got a really good hunter on your hands. They're interested in them, but they won't pounce. It's a bit like fish, really. Yeah, Husker will be very, very interested in them, but he's also really good at understanding the difference between his things and our things. He's really good at accepting that this isn't a live thing. Bear in mind, we have rats, and he loves them. He thinks they're brilliant. He also likes them because when they get treats, he gets treats. So he gets them interested in what he's doing, and then you have a tortoiseshell. Yeah, they can be good mouses. Like they're your typical farm cats, aren't they? But yeah, you teach them no. And I know it's very hard to say no to your gorgeous cats. Yeah, I mean, for a very anxious dog, he is really good. He is really good with other pets. He is really good with the kids. He just accepted them as little puppies. No matter what it is, you bring a baby anything into the house, he's like, oh, new puppy. I've got to look after it. It's part of my pack now. And I am sure he will be the same with Quail. If I can ever get the money together to start. Because, you know, he is just that guy. I mean, he's a shitbag and he stole my muffin earlier, but like Dale set me up before he went and took the kids to school. He set me up with a cup of coffee and a muffin. And Husker was in and out and in and out. And I was so distracted by him being in and out of the house. I didn't notice that he had stolen my muffin, gone back outside and eaten it. So I came in, I went to sit in the living room, having got up, you know, done my morning ablutions, came into the living room to sit down, and there's my cup of coffee. Nothing else is disturbed. Nothing else on there is disturbed. My coffee wasn't spilled or anything else like that. He had just gently taken the muffin, gone outside and eaten it. Because F me, apparently. So I sat there while Dale was out. He had some other errands to run. And I sat there kind of going, I really wanted that muffin. So yeah. I just bloody dog. I love him to bits. He is our shitbag though. I mean, he's really good about all sorts of other stuff, but someone leaving and he just loses all of his training for half an hour after someone leaves the house. It just goes out of his head. He cannot control himself. The rest of the time he's fine. At any other time in the day, if I'd left a muffin on that side table, he would have left it alone. What is that all about? My blueberry muffin. So yeah. So I am seriously considering doing the Quail thing. If you would like to help me do that because you want to see cute quail chicks and videos about homesteading for a better mental health, you can do that. I will not say no to that, because I think it would be a really interesting project. And in terms of my mental health, just the idea of being more self-sufficient and less reliant on big companies, but also saving money on my shopping bill every month, feeding my kids great food, but, you know, saving money, and being able to show people that they can, even on a tiny budget, because I think that would help all of our mental health. The biggest thing that affects all of us, the thing that unites us at the moment, is the amount that we are having to pay for the basics in life. We are being taxed to high heaven for the audacity of wanting a roof over our heads and wanting to eat. And we can stick it to the man, but also look after our mental health by being just that little bit more self-sufficient. And like I say, I mean, it's not about, you know, some conspiracy theory doomsday thing. It's just about looking after ourselves and going back to a simpler way of life as well. Thank you very much for popping in. Ida thinks so. We love you. Thank you for being here. You are appreciated. You go have a great time too. Have a wonderful time. Right. So what do you all think? Am I nuts? Am I, you know, not nuts is the wrong word, but am I pie in the sky thinking, or is this something that you would be interested in seeing? Is it something that you've thought about? Going back to that more self-sufficient way of being, like we were, you know, in the 30s and 40s. Sorry, I'm just checking behind the scenes. Oh, lots of love for Ida think so. Lots of people saying have a great day. Carly and Yvonne. Sorry, I'm just excuse me. It's really weird. You can tell I'm not used to all of this because my throat is getting really sore. It did yesterday. I was only on Twitch for about an hour yesterday. By the end of it, I was like, "Oh, I'd forgotten how much talking I used to do." Um, it's really hard to get back into the swing of it. Um, uh, I'm sorry you're with an idiot. You can't fix stupid. You can fix how you deal with stupid, though. Just bear that in mind. You set the boundaries. Yvonne says, "I think it's cool. I will be moving in with you at this point." Yeah. And that's the other thing is communal living is coming back, like community efforts with gardening and other things, but also communal living. We've known for a long time that kids are staying at home longer before they branch out on their own because it is just so much more expensive. But we're seeing here in the UK that more people are moving back home, or they're clubbing together and buying a bigger house and having, grandparents, parents, and children in a community setting where they all look after each other, they all pull their weight. And this is, how things were at the beginning of the 1900s and into the 1950s, because it was so hard to set up on your own. Right, so the goat's cheese verdict is the cheese is good. It's a bit tart, herby, but overall mild. Excellent. Is that I think, if I recall correctly, that is the first time you've made goat's cheese, so I'm calling that a massive success, Amanda. Um, oh, thank you, Steve. I'm really glad to be streaming again. I hope you're enjoying my rambling. I don't really have a direction at the moment because 3 weeks is a long time not to be streaming. I'm not gonna lie, I'm out of practice. But it's really nice to be back with you. It's the community that I've missed. I've really missed, it's not the hard work, and it is hard work that goes into it that I've missed. I mean, I've missed working, but it's more the interaction with you guys and, having these conversations and talking about things that don't seem to be linked with mental health that are. And coming up with ideas and crowdsourcing ideas for looking after ourselves. And I've really missed that. I've missed you. I've missed your surrealist humor as well. Just quickly with Amanda, first time for me making any cheese. Ooh, that is really exciting. I am so excited for you. If you have pictures and videos, send them to me because I'm really interested and I love goat cheese. Yeah, boundaries are really hard to set, but you will be grateful for them in the future. I promise you. Idiots are a bummer. Carly Scragg is adding. I do think so. Has missed our faces, my face. Either way, I've missed yours as well. Yes, definitely off now. Have a great day, Ida. Thank you so much for being here. Amanda says, I haven't made it to many streams, but I'm having a real blast and would definitely try to make more often. Yeah. I'm glad you're having a blast. That is really nice. It is really nice to crowdsource these things and chip in and kind of go, hey, I make goat's cheese. We like to celebrate wins. I think it's really important to celebrate those wins, but I am so proud of you for giving it a go and making it. So I am looking forward to seeing the product of this. And I love the fact that you're doing you're trading, you're using the barter system to trade for goat's milk and other things. I think that's amazing. Carly says, how long has it been since you streamed? It felt like years. It did feel like years. It was 3 weeks. Was it 3 weeks? No. Hold on. I'm going to have to... Might be longer, Might be longer. I had my accident on the 5th. I did a couple of small updates the following week, but really 3.5 weeks, almost 4 weeks since I did kind of a proper scheduled live. And it felt like forever. And I really missed that interaction. Talking about mental health, talking about what matters to you all, imparting some wisdom and having you do that back. I've missed the community big time. And watching YouTube and joining in on, the chat on other people's Twitch streams is great, but it's not the same. So it's been really nice to get back to it, and have so many people pop in. I didn't think that would happen. I was really worried that it was going to take me weeks and weeks and weeks to build back up. But I think at the peak we've had 8 people watching. We've, I think, averaged about 5, which is really good when I've been offline for so long. And hopefully we won't have that again. I don't plan to break my ankle again. If you want a review, 0 out of 10, would not recommend. Don't add it to your bucket list. No, it's not been fun. Don't do it. Honest review, it's pretty rubbish. Like the actual pain from like while I was laying there on the stairs waiting for the ambulance crew, the actual pain wasn't that bad. It was a 5. Going up to a 6 as my foot cramped. But it was kind of an average pain. It wasn't that bad at all. It's kind of the pain from having it reset. Both times they reset, because they had to reset it twice with the dislocation. They didn't get it straight the first time and no one noticed. And I'm looking at it and going, I can see that that's not straight. I can see you're going to have to do this again. That was really painful. That was an 8 or 9. The worst pain I've ever had was recovering from a C-section. That was really awful. But like the actual ankle, the pain from the ankle hasn't been that bad. It's all of the other things. It's the PTSD and it's things like the wound burning, just burning, and not being able to do anything about it, and that side of recovery, and being bored. Having to sit there and do nothing and be reliant on other people. I am not good. I've said it many times this stream. I am not good at being dependent on others. Being dependent on other people bothers me, because I've been, and again, this comes down to the CPTSD, but I've been in so many positions where people have isolated me to the point of dependency, and I've had no one else. So being in that position is a trigger, because it takes me back to that point where I'm trapped and I can't do anything about it, and and that kind of thing. And it's that's been really difficult. That not working, I was just getting to a point where I was really in a good rhythm with days I was streaming and places I was streaming, and I was starting to get to a point where I was starting to earn a little bit of money, and there was an upswing. I got some amazing Craftalytical cheer squad members. I've got 3 people in the membership squad who are amazing, and I love them, and I feel like I let them down by not being around. But I was just starting to get into the swing of recording the podcast as well as streaming and producing videos and stuff. And I was just starting to come into my own, and that just disappeared in an instant. And all it took was 1 step. I slid down 1 step. That was it. And that's been rough. That's been really rough. And Ida Think So says, sometimes I put up with more than I should, and it confuses me. Is that as to why you put up with more than you should? Because I get it. I get it. You think you've reached your limit, and somehow you find the strength to shift a boundary to accommodate someone else. The problem is with that is you reach a point where there are no boundaries anymore. And, my honest advice, having done that, for most of my life, is that is one of the most damaging things you can do for yourself. Um, and it's something we need to work on. Boundaries are hard, and enforcing boundaries are really hard. Like, it's not easy. But once you start putting your foot down, you will get one of two reactions. You will either get uh someone push back and be as mean as they can, or call you a psycho, or whatever it is, um, to make you think there's something wrong with you for putting your foot down. That's someone who doesn't want you to have healthy boundaries, and that's someone you need to step away from, because they're going to abuse you. Or you will get someone go, "Hey, oh, okay, this is new, kind of bit wary, this is new," or "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to push a button," or, "Can we talk about this?" And they're the people that you want to bring closer. They're the people who want you to have healthy boundaries and look after yourself. They want a healthier relationship with you, and they haven't realized that they've been pushing your boundaries. You can not take any shit, but still have issues with boundaries. And it seems nonsensical, but honestly, it's true. It really is. And, if you need a refresher, I've done a video on orbit audits, where you look at the people you're spending time with, whether that's online, or in person, and you work out whether they're draining you. Are they sapping your strength? If you're with them, do you feel low? Or when you leave their company, do you feel low? Do you feel drained by that interaction? Those are the people you want to just take half a step back from. You don't have to eliminate them from your life, because there are some people that maybe we can't move away from, but just take a step back and spend just a little bit less time with them, and then look at the people who are charging you up. Doesn't matter who starts the conversation, but is it reciprocal? Do you leave a conversation with them feeling better about yourself? And do you give that to them? Are you charging each other? Are you cheering each other on and celebrating small wins and commiserating? And is the conversation a two-way street? Because if that's the case, bring those people half a step closer, spend a bit more time with them. And you'll find that those boundaries then start to assert themselves, because you take half a step back away from the people who are draining. And dulling your light is a great way of phrasing it. If they are dulling your light and you take half a step back from them, that boundary starts to assert itself without there being a confrontation. And this is different from growing apart. Growing apart happens naturally between two people, two or more people sometimes. This is about actively taking time to audit the people around you. And this isn't about being mean or nasty about it, but we all have to reevaluate every now and again who we're spending time with. Because if they are doing nothing but dull your lights or sap your energy, then, they aren't good for you long run. Long run, that person is going to start bringing negativity into you. So there you go. But I have got a video of that on my channel. Hey, Rami, yes. Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I broke my ankle. I didn't do it on purpose, obviously. And I have reviewed the experience. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. Yes, I slipped down one step, and I dislocated and broke my ankle in 2 places. I had to wait 2 weeks for surgery. I had surgery a week ago Friday. And things are now less painful, and I can shuffle myself into a good position to be able to sit and stream and be with you, because I have missed all of you. I have missed you. How are you, sir? How are you doing? Today been having a bit of a catch up. You know, what's important to you, what's going on in your lives. We've been talking about how difficult this process has been. Not the injury itself, but everything surrounding it, and being dependent on other people. I am not good at being dependent on other people. So, you know, learning to accept help is one of the strongest, bravest things we can do, is ask for and accept help, right? But it's really hard. You are more than welcome to step away anytime you want and make coffee. Like, you know, you come first in this relationship. You are the important one in this relationship. So if you need coffee, go get coffee. Ramia says, been doing okay, getting cold here. Yeah, I can imagine that, you know, Illinois and Ohio and Wisconsin are pretty chilly up there right now. Minnesota. Yeah, I can only imagine. It's pretty chilly here, but I would imagine it's cooler where you are. Out in the cornfields. No, thank you. Ooh. We've also been talking. Well, I've been talking about homesteading. Part of this, you know, dependency thing has got me thinking about, you know, how we need to be more self-sufficient for our own mental health. We're so reliant on big companies and what they charge us for stuff, and going back to a simpler way of life, being more self-sufficient for our own mental health, and you know, looking out for ourselves, being able to grow our own veggies and keep quail, for instance, for, you know, fruit, veg, meat, eggs, and cutting our grocery bill in half, literally in half, for, you know, a relatively comparatively small outlay. And it's something I'm really looking at doing. And if I do, I'm going to add a little homesteading section to the channel. And it seems like a bit of a leap, but it is all about being self-sufficient, looking after ourselves, mind, body, and soul, but also about the benefits to our mental health of getting out and doing some gardening, growing something which is creativity, but also, you know, not being reliant on the man for everything that we have in our lives, and saving money. Because let's be honest, money is tight for everyone. Yvonne says, it took me 2 years before I asked for help, so I get it. It is really, really hard. You know this too, Yvonne, like when you have disabilities or long-term illnesses, it is really hard because asking for help feels like you're giving into it. And when you're like us and very stubborn, we don't want to do that. We don't want the illness to win. So yeah, I see you. I really do. We went from 80 degrees to 39 degrees overnight. Talk about drastic. Wow. 39 degrees is like 4 degrees C. So to go from 80 is 28, 29 degrees. Hold on, let me do my maths. 20, yeah, 25, 26 degrees to 4 degrees in centigrade overnight is just wild. That's crazy. I mean, we seem to have skipped autumn somehow. We had a few wintry days, and then now what we've got is like we're almost in November. Today is Halloween. We're almost in November, and I was sat outside in a t-shirt having a cup of coffee this morning, kind of in that watery winter sunshine. But we seem to have skipped autumn and gone straight to winter. And we went from we're absolutely fine, don't need the heating, to wow, it's cold, put the heating on. It's you know, and this is the other thing with homesteading, going back to the self-sufficiency thing, is you know, being able to say I want to put the heating on, that is a luxury, right? It's a big luxury to be able to say I've got the money to stick the heating on, and bringing down your grocery bills means that you can. but also with this homesteading idea, it's about being self-sufficient in many different ways. The reason I taught fiber arts, and why I do fiber arts is self-sufficiency. What I would love to do is buy a fleece and spin my own yarn, make something out of it, and give it away or keep it, because you've had the enjoyment of making everything from start to finish, and you appreciate that that process, and it slows things down. And it really makes you think about, how things were done in the past, and how these arts came to be. They're heritage crafts for a reason. But you're following that all the way through, so that you can keep warm in the winter, so that you have socks or whatever it is you've made. And I would want to, in an ideal world, if I could, I would have all of these processes from start to finish. So from chick to dinner plate, or chick to laying, from compost to veggies, because I think it's important to see all of that. Ramia says, to turn heat on or not is like a credit card. Get it now, but you're going to have to pay for it later. Yeah, it is a balancing act. It is. There was a headline this week in the UK that reported that 7.1 million people in the UK, one of the richer countries in the world, are now destitute. Destitute in 2023. Those families are having to choose between eating and paying rent. And they're definitely not turning on the heating. They're talking about the fact that we are going to lose record numbers of elderly and young people this year because they can't afford to heat their homes. And that, to me, is absolutely vile. This isn't some tiny country somewhere that no one has ever heard of that is very, very poor. This is one of the richest countries in the world. And at a time when that is happening, we have people in government saying we've got to help the millionaires. We've got to give tax breaks to million and billionaires. We're not going to up the tax on wine and champagne. But we are going to cut benefits to those who need it the most. And, this is another reason why I'm looking at this homesteading thing, is because if I've got elderly neighbors, or I know someone who is elderly, who is having to choose between food and heating their home, I'm going to feed them so they can heat their home. Like, I am one person. I can't fix the problem. I don't have any money to fix the problem monetarily, but I can step in and start a co-op and get the community together and say, right, between us, we are going to grow or make what we need to keep these people going over winter. I'm going to grow veggies and other things, and I'm going to give them to a food bank, whatever it is. And I know I'm starting late, but really what I'm doing is thinking about all of these things, how I'm going to set this up, how I'm going to get the money together to set this up in the first place, so that spring, I've got my chicks ready to hatch, I've got eggs ready to hatch, and I've got, the coop sorted, and I've got beds ready for the waste to be able to compost my own, stuff. Yeah, I mean, Carly, honestly, I wish I had started doing all of the research earlier. If it was pie in the sky thinking in my head, and I was sure it was going to be, not economical to do it. I'm sure, in my head, I thought, no, it's going to be really expensive to do it. But as we discussed earlier, quail in supermarkets are really, really expensive to buy the meat for and the eggs for. And I think that was in the back of my mind. And actually, they're so cheap to raise. Like I said, it costs about $1.50 to raise a quail from egg to you know, to laying or meat. And, you know, that's really cheap. So, you know, and any surplus can be like eggs. I'm going to have so many eggs. But you know, being able to give a dozen quail eggs to an elderly person or someone I know who is in food insecurity. Yes, you need more eggs to make an omelette, but it is so good in calcium and protein and good cholesterol, that it is going to help balance the cheaper, more processed foods that people are having to buy to keep going. But I'm really passionate about it, you know, starting with my family and branching out, um, because, you know, food insecurity or financial issues are the top things that are causing people mental distress. Um, and, you know, if I can, even if it's one meal a week that I am helping supply, that's one meal a week more that they don't have to worry about. Um, you know, we are a society, and the only way we are going to send a positive message out into the world, and the only way we're going to make change is by changing our actions, right? Um, yeah, it is. You know, you can get 3 pizzas, which is enough to feed a family of 4 for 90. Oh, sorry, you can get 3 pizzas for 3 quid. You just put them in the oven, you got a meal. It's not a healthy meal. It's, you know, empty calories for the most part, but it fills your tummy. Um, and when you compare that to if you're making a, you know, a decent meal, let's say a shepherd's pie, or the mince is 2.65, and that's the cheapest mince. 2.65, potatoes a pound. So it's 3.65. And that's without putting it, even freezer veg, a bag of frozen vegetables, about a pound. You'd maybe use a third of that bag to go in a thing. So, you know, you're now talking 4.95, and then you've got, you know, a bit of butter or milk to go in your mash, and gravy powder, gravy granules. So, you know, a shepherd's pie is a really good meal, and maybe you'll get leftovers, but you're already 2 quid over the cheap kind of calorie empty meal. And when that 2 quid can go towards another really cheap, bad for you meal that is going to fill your tummy, you know, when you're penny pinching, that's the thing, isn't it? One thing that upsets me the most when a rich person says they are so bored, then share your money with those that need it. If that doesn't warm your heart, then you are a sad case. Yeah. And there are loads of things that rich people can do that actually cost them pennies on the pound, right? So, you know, starting a community garden, buying a little plot of land, and we're not talking allotments, but you say, right, this community garden is, you know, I'm going to put in a community garden manager who is going to make sure that no one is taking the pay, that it's secure, that no one's coming down and stealing stuff. And we're going to make this community project so everyone in, you know, these 200 houses has vegetables. It's a very low cost, feeds people, and you know, fed workers are happier workers and they work harder. Like the average wage here in the UK is just under £30,000 a year. And when your food bill is at least a third of that, at least, your rent or mortgage is another third of that. The last third is all of the other bills: heating, lighting, council tax. Oh, sorry, my alarm's going off. Please excuse me. I don't know how well that came across over the microphone or whatever, but my phone was vibrating and it was playing music at me. I apologize. You know, community gardening projects, education on, you know, running education on how to grow your own at home, you know, seed banks, all of these things, infrastructure, all of these things, you know, how you fix poverty is infrastructure and education. And, you know, helping people set up for themselves. And it's really cheap. It's way cheaper than pledging money after a disaster hits, when there's a whole bunch of other things that need to happen before that money is of any use. That money isn't of use immediately. You know, it upsets me that there are so many people that have billions in the bank, don't do anything with it. And then when they do, they get the whole, oh, he's, you know, Bill Gates, very quiet, unassuming man, doesn't seem to have an even evil bone in his body, puts thousands or hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars into different projects and gets demonized for it. The only person that doesn't is Dolly Parton, because you can't help but love Dolly Parton. She's amazing. But yeah, you know, and Jeff Bezos is just full of contradictions. You know, he started giving money to various charitable organizations, but doesn't start with his employees who are living on, you know, very low wages for no reason. You know, there's a lot that can be done with very little money. I would love to see a few more millionaires go, right, I'm going to buy, like, in Leeds and Hull, there are whole streets of houses that are completely empty. And they're on the market for kind of £3,000 or £5,000 because it's a downcast area. It's been forgotten. So, you know, having a millionaire come in and say, right, I'm going to buy this whole street, I'm going to do it all up, and I'm going to rent them out for £100 a month to get people back on their feet. Right? It's a solid investment. You're going to make your money back really quickly. And it's going to build up the area. It's going to bring businesses into the area. And I would do that. I would absolutely do that. If I was a millionaire, that's what I would be doing. Or buying a plot of land and having some houses built on them that already have solar panels and all of those other things. And I would be charging minimal rent to get people back on their feet. You know, through a charitable organization, you apply to the charitable organization, and depending on where you are in the country, depends on what kind of housing is available, and, you know, do that. And as part of these ventures, I would have a community garden. Why is it that the millionaires we have generally just aren't, don't give a stuff about other people? I mean, I wouldn't be a millionaire for long, but who cares? I'd be putting something positive out there. I would be changing lives, real lives, in a positive way. And we need more of that, I believe. And it's not me saying I'm better than other people, because I'm pretty sure I am preaching to the choir here. I'm already preaching to the converted, although I've lost viewers on my little diatribe, for which I apologize. But I would love to see more of that, because the only way we are going to change things is by changing things, you know? Yeah, I've lost 3 viewers, and Chat has stopped completely. I'm so sorry. If I have bored you, if I've upset you with any of that, I do apologize, but you know, my views, they are purely my views. It's, you know, what I would like to see more of in the world. Um, maybe this is why I don't make any money. Maybe I should just stick with what's sensible and what's safe and talk about puppies or something. Um, is anyone still out there? Are you still with me? I am so sorry. Oh, it looks like my notifications went out, so that's really good. I was a little bit worried about that. Sorry, I'm making sure everything's running properly in the background. Because you never know. Sorry, Andy, I'm not bored. I'm hoping. Is that you're not a bored millionaire or rich person, or you're not bored by my my diatribe? Amanda is here. Amanda is still here. Thank you so much for still being here. It's amazing. It's amazing that you've made it. But yeah, like I would be donating to real community projects, not, you know, not projects that are just for the look of the thing, because there's more than a few of those. Oh, yay! I'm glad you are having breakfast. Breakfast is really important. Um, ah, that's fine. Good, as long as I'm not boring people. But yeah, community project. There's a lot of community projects. I've opened a community garden. That's great. But who's going to look after it in 6 months' time? You know, you're doing it for publicity. There are way better ways of doing things. You know, I mean, Gary Neville. Now, I despise soccer, football in all its forms, because it promotes some really bad behaviour from the fans, and from the players, to be honest. But Gary Neville, during COVID, opened. He was having a hotel renovated, and what he did was he finished the renovation that he could under COVID restrictions, and then he opened it up to homeless people to stay in. And he tried to do it quietly, but then, you know, media got hold of it, and it worked out well because it was promoting that they still had space, and they had people traveling to London to be able to be COVID safe in that environment. And actually having an address meant that some of those people could get jobs and stuff like that. And he extended it. And that's the kind of thing that you need. You need that kind of projects, rather than, you know, very public, shiny things that really, when you get down to it, aren't going to do any good to a community or long run. Uh, Amanda says she's just settling into her work day. No meetings for another hour. Yes. Excellent. That's really good. I like days that start that way, when you don't have to kind of hit the ground running and being a people first thing. Yeah, like, maybe the hotel was in Manchester. It might have been in Manchester. But yeah, you know, he does an awful lot for Manchester as a city. He's done a lot for the homeless community or the unhoused community, but also kind of work projects. I think I'm right in thinking that it's Gary Neville and a couple of other footballers that, you know, kind of internships for people that are either struggling to get a job or, you know, don't have qualifications, had to drop out of school or whatever else for reasons outside of their control. And people who have been unhoused and therefore don't have a work history, they're doing kind of internships where they go and work for the football club or associated businesses. They learn new skills and stuff like that. And they've orchestrated that. That is real change. Yeah, there's a few. And of course, Marcus, I can't believe I blanked on his name. He's a footballer who's done an awful lot for food poverty for children, putting his own money into it, setting up kind of charitable donations to schools and to directly to children, and Marcus Rashford, putting a huge amount of pressure on the government and shaming them into doing their part, because apparently food isn't essential or something, poor people, something don't count, something. Yeah, Rashford. And it is, he's a Manc too. Yeah. And again, these are people that also grew up in poverty. They understand what it's like and they've not forgotten where they've come from. And that's the problem. I think, going back to Rames's point, is a lot of people who hit the big time money wise get so used to that life, they forget where they came from, or they didn't come from poverty in the first place. And actually, they've just built on the millions they already had. But people do, some people do forget where they came from. And that to me is really sad. That's really, really sad. To know where you're going, you've got to know where you've been. Reasons come first. Solutions come second. So the reason I am passionate about this is because I've been there and I don't want someone else to. The reason I do this channel is because I've been there. I've had terrible mental health. Last week in the hospital, I had the worst episode I think I've ever had. It's definitely in the top 2. I don't want anyone else to go through that. I don't want anyone else to go through that. And if they have to, I want them to know they're not alone. My reason is I've done it and it's awful. My solution is talking about it. I've lived in poverty and food insecurity. I don't want other people to. I know how much of a pressure that is. Let's talk about it. And I think, Marcus Rashford and Gary Neville and other people along those lines have done a huge amount for their local community to stop people from going through what they've been through. And I look at David Beckham, he could do a lot more. He and Victoria Beckham, really, really rich, still went for COVID grants when they could have done that out of their own money. They could be putting more money into their local community or into charitable projects. You've been bad this week. I am really sorry, Yvonne. And thank you for sharing that with us. Because I know how hard it is to admit that things are bad. And, be honest about it, because we do mask, right? We mask it. And I am really sorry that you have been through that. I am here. I get it. And if you want to talk, you know how to get hold of me. I am here for you. Doesn't matter what I've got going on either. If you just need to know that someone else is there, I'm here. And as awful as it is, the only way out is through, and you can do this. You have got this 100%. You have your coping mechanisms. You have a great support system. Your family is amazing around you. Steve, if you're still listening, please give your mum a hug from me. But yeah, you've got this, and I've got you. My heart goes out to you. It really does, because it's awful. It really is so hard. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's definitely not something that, Carly is also sending love and hugs to you. Hugs, love and Mr. Pervy there. I am too, because, sometimes you can feel very, very alone in those moments. Like people talk about triggers, and it's overused. It is overused. While I was in hospital, there were 3 or 4 people there saying that they had PTSD. And at least one of those, it was just they didn't like hospitals or whatever. It really wasn't PTSD, and the rest of us clubbed together. Like the rest of us reached out to each other, and that is so important in those moments, to know that you are not alone, and that you are seen, you are understood. It's really hard sometimes to feel like you are understood. Again, it's a bit like breaking an ankle. We were talking about this earlier. You don't really appreciate what it's like unless you've been there. People try, and I love the fact that people try to understand. But there are some things that you just cannot describe effectively enough. So I see you, Yvonne. I really do see you. And I am sending you big love. Steve, make your mum a cup of tea. So yeah, so many hearts to you. So many hearts. So just a couple of admin-y bits, I suppose. We hit 105 subscribers here on YouTube. Thank you so much for being with us. Oh, you're a good egg, Steve. Was that the hug or the cup of tea or both? Just checking. Yeah. We even gained a few subscribers while I was not around, which is really weird and really lovely. And that is because of you. That is absolutely because of you, and how warm and welcoming you are, and the fact that people are watching other videos and seeing your comments, and it's helping them. Your comments and your interaction with videos is so important, because again, what we do here is we make sure people know they're not alone, and it's not just me saying they're not alone, it's all of us, and we're welcoming them in. So because of that, on Friday's stream, now I am back to it, Senior Fluffy Butt will be given away. Finally. I've been promising this for ages. I'm so sorry. But yes, Senior Fluffy Butts will be winging his way to one lucky random person that enters in the live chat on Friday. So if you would like to enter in that, then do be there on Friday. It'll be 8 p.m. GMT, which is 2 p.m. Central, or 11 p.m. In the Middle East. So yes, do come and join us, because you can't not love Senior Fluffy Buds. And I will tidy him up a little bit before I send him out. He's been a little bit neglected, poor thing. Yeah, that's as a thank you for you still being here and believing in me, and believing in what we want to do here, basically. After 332 days. No, that's a lie. I can't remember. It's just over a year. So yes, so the next giveaway will be at 150 here on YouTube. You can join me on Twitch on the days that I am not on YouTube. I am on Twitch, doing different things and trying to reach a new community over there. So it's just Craftalytical over on Twitch. What I will do is I will link that. I think Stream Elements has been doing its job, but I've not really been paying attention, and I should have been really. Copy. Helps if I go into the right thing. So you can head over to Twitch and give the page a follow. Even if you don't watch on Twitch, that really, really helps. It's a bit weird. It's easier to get monetized over on Twitch. You become an affiliate at 50 followers, and every follow helps get me to that point. It's it's also a different community and a really lovely, fun, positive community over there. You can become a member if you want to. On the coffee shop, there's an option to, you can do a one time buy me a coffee, or you can become a member. It's £3 a month. And that gets you exclusive content, a members only Telegram group, and other giveaways and that kind of thing. You can join our very small but very wonderful, supportive community over there. Honestly, every single one of them is amazing. And I love them just as I love you. I have some affiliate links and other stuff in the description. All of those help. I do get a little bit of commission or discounts on stuff, but every single click, every single person that signs up to one of those things, whether it's vidIQ or BetterHelp or StreamYard, all of that helps a small channel like mine make some money so that I can put money back into this community and what we're doing, and into the world outside. Try and reach people. So if you're interested in any of those things, the links are in the description. So yeah, that's me. We've talked for 2 hours and 15 minutes, you all, which is amazing. And I have missed all of you. I'm so glad that Ramius and Carly and Karen and Yvonne and Steve and Amanda and Ida think so all managed to make it. I don't think I've missed anyone that's been in the chat. If you've been watching and you haven't been speaking, lurker friendly here. We love people being with us. And I hope you're doing okay. I hope you've had value out of today. If you have, hit the thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you aren't, because again, the thumbs up doesn't do anything for YouTube, but it really does. It helps me. If you like the video, it helps me understand what content is working for you, but also it sets off some sparkles. If you're not subscribed and you hit the subscribe button when it lights up, when I say the word subscribe the first time, it should have lit up, and you press on that and you get sparkles. Same with the like button now, which is really very cool. It doesn't do anything other than that, really, but it just helps this little channel grow. So I'm going to hand it over to you all. Is there anything you would like to share? Anything you would like us to talk about later on in the week? Anything you would like to add? Anyone you would like to shout out? Before I head off for the day, go and get a drink. I've really missed you all, Carly. I really, really have. And it's so nice to be back. And it is so nice that you and everyone else managed to make it today. I am honestly blown away by people kind of seeing the notification and rushing in. Just honestly warms my heart. And I keep saying it, and maybe it comes across as insincere, but honestly, I am nothing without you guys, and I'm, the channel is nowhere without all of you. So Ramia says, have a great day, take care on the ankle. Believe me, I never want to do this again. I never do. I mean, it's been an experience. It's made me a better human being, more empathetic. But seriously, 0 out of 10, never going to do it again. But I will take care of the ankle. Thank you very much for being here as well, Ramius. I'm so tough that you joined me with your breakfast. Carly says, have a great day, everyone. Yes, have a great day. Go out into the world knowing that you are blessed. Rez is doing a 24-hour stream on Twitch dressed as a vampire. Really? Has that already started? Let's give him a shout out. So Rez is a friend of ours. He's an amazing, amazing guy. It starts at 6 p.m. our time today. Let's have a look. streamed 18 hours ago. He's got another one scheduled for today. Um, is there a um there we go. Mad Erez. He is a friend of ours. We met through YouTube, but he is streaming on Twitch. It's a gaming thing, but he is just full of positivity and wonderful, wonderful vibes. He games in cosplay, dressed this time as a vampire. So he's been playing Dying Light 2, which he was kind of dressed up as a post-apocalyptic scav. He started doing Assassin's Creed in costume as well, but had to stop doing that. He is in Israel, and obviously they are under just constant alerts. And being in costume slows him down. He's when the alert goes off, he's got 60 seconds to get down to the shelter. So we had to stop doing that. Currently, because of the state of play there, he's able to go back to that. So do go over and give him, give him a follow. He really, really deserves it, because he really is an amazing guy. He is full of compassion. He also teaches about the situation in Israel and other places. He's got a very excellent grasp of foreign policy and kind of foreign conflicts. He was really informative during the initial days of the Ukrainian conflict, the just invasion of Ukraine. Um, so do go over and give him a follow. He's an amazing guy. If you are going to spread hate, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go over there to troll him. Don't go over there. Like, I would like to think that no one involved in this channel, is that kind of person. But if you're thinking about it, if you're thinking about doing anything that would set that off, don't firstly, A, keep your mouth shut in the first place. Doesn't matter who you're talking to, and secondly, don't pull that shit online. Because it is just, you know, it is a complicated situation. Um, and, you know, these are acts of terrorism that has turned into a war, and we just want positivity for Erez, and what he does. So, yes, but do go over and support Mad Erez. He really does deserve it, and at the moment, kind of as I'm sure we all learned from what has happened and is still going on in Ukraine, it is incredibly hard to make money when your economy crashes due to a large scale war. So we are supporting him with everything we have, and watching, giving watch time. You don't have to give your money. It's just the same here. You don't have to give your money, but share what we do. Watch everything from start to finish, every video, every live, that watch time, and having more people watching, that is what gets you out there and gets the algorithm chugging, and helps get people monetized, without you having to spend your money at a time when things are really, really tight. If you do want to donate, there's loads of ways of doing that, to me, to Erez, to whoever. And they're all available on our bios and stuff, but just being there makes a big difference. But yeah, I am looking forward to, I don't know that I'm going to be able to be there for the whole stream, but it's a good time. It really is. His community over there is like our community here. There's a lot of crossover, but they're just so positive and wonderful, and it's fun. It is fun. Anyway, again, I appear to have gone off on a bit of a tangent and a bit of a rant. You can tell that I've been holding this in. I've not had you guys to share this with for so long. I've been holding this in, and apparently it's overspilling today. I'm hoping that's going to calm down between now and Friday when we again give away Senor Fluffy Bot. How can you not love this guy? How can you? Whoop, there's my camera. How can you not want this guy with his fluffy butt in your life? Join me on Friday as we give him away to one lucky person in the chat. all you have to do is be there and at the right time tell me you're in. So what we'll do is we'll write everyone's names down and have a random number generator to work out who wins. And then we will be sending him wherever in the world he needs to go. I think at the moment we still can't send things to Russia, but we can send them everywhere else. So I know you love Fluffy Butt, Signor Fluffy Butt. So yeah, I am willing to send him to Australia or wherever, to whoever wins, because why wouldn't you? He's gorgeous. Look at that. Anyway, right. Who doesn't love Fluffy Butt? Exactly. Who doesn't love Fluffy Butt? So yeah, anyway, I am going to stop rambling now and let you get on with your day, but I love you all. Thank you so much for being here and welcoming me back. I am so grateful to all of you. I'm glad we could catch up with each other, and I will speak to you very soon.